Adam Merrick, and I bring to you episode 5 of Ring Awareness. Hopefully you guys are stopping what you're doing, and I'm sure for most of you that's watching the WWE Network, to listen to my latest episode. As always, thank you guys for taking the time to listen to my show, and I hope that I keep your interest each and every other week when I do it. Now, most of you may know my guest today as Turbo Tony, but he's put up the boots to help pump you up. Give it up for Tony Davis.
All right, thanks so much for having me, Adam. I'm glad to be here.
Dude, man, I'm so stoked to have you here, man. We talked about having you on for a little bit now, and finally you're here.
Yeah, it's been in the works for a while.
Definitely, man. So obviously, the beginning, this is a wrestling show.
Yes.
So let's talk about your early years of being a wrestling fan and what made you, eventually decide to pursue this as a hobby, as an interest of yours.
Okay. Well, I got a little bit of a later start than average. I didn't start watching wrestling until I was about 15.
Oh wow, okay.
And I didn't really even know it existed until one of my friends in high school started talking about The Rock, and I was like, "Who is this guy?" So he told me what channel and what time, and it was a little bit after Jericho made the jump to the WWE.
Oh, okay, so about 99?
Yeah, so
okay.
It was late 99, and the first time I watched, all I'd heard about was The Rock, because that was my friend's favorite wrestler, so I was just pumped up. I was like, awesome, The Rock.
Yeah.
And I don't remember exactly when it was, but he was supposed to wrestle the Big Show.
Okay.
And if The Rock lost, that was supposed to be the end of his career.
Okay.
And I was just sitting there like, this is the first time I'm watching, and this guy's probably not even going to be here anymore. And so they wrestled, and obviously The Rock won that match.
Right.
And after that, I was just hooked. It was instant after that.
Oh, wow.
And it was before SmackDown.
Oh,
so
okay.
all there was just Raw. So I was just watching every Monday night.
Yeah.
And then, of course, SmackDown came into the picture later on, so now I was watching twice a week.
Nice.
And at the time, I didn't really know there was WCW either. I mean, I didn't even know there was WWF.
Not for long, at least.
Yeah. Yeah, and at that point, I was like, okay, well, let's start watching that. And then they got bought. I was like, I'm apparently just bad luck for wrestling.
Yeah.
And, so Vince showed up and did his simulcast between Raw and Nitro, where he announced that he was buying everything. And then Shane kind of swooped in and undercut him and took WCW.
Exactly.
And, that led into everything with the invasion angle, which I think was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Led into just everybody coming over, Booker T,
right.
All those guys, RVD and everything moving over. And
it really improved the product at that time too, because in my opinion, you had so much talent once WCW closed. I mean, it was bad for business just because there wasn't that other company to compete with WWE.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, WWE just had an influx of talent from WCW and ECW. I think just made the product better.
Yeah.
And that's my opinion. You then had the two different brands were on SmackDown, which was great for a little bit. The way they did it was awesome.
I think that was amazing because it gave them something to do with all this excess talent that now they had.
Yeah, dude.
Because they had WCW, they had ECW.
Yeah.
They had all the top talent from the three major companies at the time.
Exactly.
What are you going to do with them?
Yeah.
You can't just run one show.
I know.
I mean, they barely had time for the people they already had.
Yeah.
Then they essentially double the staff, so it's like, all right,
yeah,
we need to do something, so...
I thought that was and in my opinion, I think that they still needed to do the roster. I really like the brand extension. I think that they should still do it because their roster is still ridiculously huge.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And you have guys who are hardly on TV, but yet every week we get the same stuff with Cena and Orton. They're on, both shows for the most part, but yet you hardly see guys like Zack Ryder or, JTG and Yoshitatsu.
Yeah.
What happened to those
When was the last
guys,
time they
dude?
were on TV?
Yeah, dude. If they had two different shows again, I think that would help out altogether.
Yeah. It was awesome because you had Raw, that was your clear flagship.
Right.
And then you had SmackDown, which was not very far behind.
Yeah.
But it gave a clear distinction.
It was always like even though SmackDown wasn't live, it felt like there was competition between the two shows.
Yeah.
Because Raw was a flagship, but the guys on SmackDown, they felt that they should be the flagship show, and even though they're taped on Tuesday, they would still go out there. There was a lot of younger talent too.
Yeah.
They put on SmackDown, and I think ultimately the goal is to get on Raw, but they would still go out there have great matches, and I think SmackDown for the longest time had even better matches than Raw.
Yeah, and that's happened at several points, even when they had their version of ECW, where it was essentially just a stepping stone to SmackDown, which became a stepping stone to Raw.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that system, and even with that being the case, you still have the situation where they're probably better matches on ECW than they were on Raw.
That's true. I would agree with that.
You have the same thing going on now with NXT.
Yeah, exactly, dude.
There are matches there that are like, why are these guys not on Raw? Like, what's going on right now?
Yeah. So, like, I think we're kind of getting off topic, but, like, yeah, dude, you're right.
Yeah,
you're
a
right.
little bit.
Dude, I think that, I mean, again, I think the brand extension was great, man. I wish they would go back to it and just, again, like, the point of general managers are kind of pointless at this time.
Yeah.
Like, what's the point of having Brad Maddox and Vicky Guerrero out there, but yet you still have Triple H and Stephanie who are kind of doing stuff. Yeah. You have Hulk Hogan who's making rules, and Vince is somewhere doing whatever. Just so much. So, obviously, I mean, you started being a wrestling fan around 99. So, have you been a Rock fan ever since?
It kind of comes and goes. Overall, I've been a fan of The Rock as a wrestling personality.
Okay.
And as an actor.
Yeah.
I've liked The Rock as an actor. Most of his movies, I just thought were phenomenal.
What's your favorite Rock movie?
Fast and Furious 6.
Oh, boom! Of course. Duh.
Yeah, come on. Seriously? The Rock and Cars? Come on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've always been a Rock fan, and he hasn't always been my favorite wrestler.
Okay.
That's kind of changed throughout the years.
Okay.
But I've always liked The Rock. When he came back a few years ago to host WrestleMania.
Yeah.
And he just he jumped in the ring. Seemed like he didn't even really miss a beat when he just cut his promo.
Yeah, no, not at all.
I marked out for that. I thought that was fantastic.
I agree.
I kind of fell into it when he said he wasn't going anywhere, and obviously we see where that's gone. But
of course.
Yeah, but I don't really hold that against him. He's gonna do what's gonna make him happy. So
yeah, exactly.
If it's wrestling, it'll be wrestling. If it's making movies, he's gonna do that. So
yeah, and I think people kind of whenever he came back and he said I'm not going anywhere kind of deal.
Yeah.
I think maybe some people kind of mistook his words as like he's gonna be in WWE, for the rest of whenever.
Yeah.
And it would have been cool, but that just wasn't the case. I think he meant he's not going anywhere as far as he'll always be a member of the WWE.
He'll be a part of the family, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And do you think, I mean, just while we're on the topic of The Rock, do you think that he is ever going to wrestle again? Obviously, this year, WrestleMania, not looking like it's going to happen.
I don't know. I know at least from what I read on the dirt sheets, that he was looking to keep going with it part-time.
Okay.
But that was before he got injured when he wrestled Cena at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Because when that happened, all of a sudden all the movie studios were like, whoa, hold on now.
Yeah.
We're not going to put any money into this guy if he's going to wind up getting injured and then he can't make a movie.
Right.
So that I feel like that would put him at a crossroads. Now he's got to pick one and devote to it.
Yeah.
And just looking at what he's doing now, it's probably going to be movies.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. And I think that kind of was a wake-up call. I think his plan was to maybe appear, once or twice a year.
Yeah.
Maybe
Maybe
wrestle.
Survivor Series.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Exactly. So I think that match with Cena kind of just was a wake-up call, kind of like, okay, hold on. If you want to keep doing this, you're possibly jeopardizing your movie career, which obviously is great for him. He's one of the top actors as far as name-wise, name value.
Oh, yeah.
He's huge right now. And I think he's as big as he's ever been. So I think that he will make at least one more match. I say that he does return maybe WrestleMania and goes out, has at least one more match, my opinion. At least I hope so, because again, Rock's so entertaining on the mic. His verbal battles against Cena this last go around are just ridiculously
They were amazing.
Yeah, dude, they were great. So who's your current favorite now? Obviously Rock's not here.
My current favorite right now is Cesaro.
Oh, okay.
Hands down.
Dude, how ridiculously strong.
I mean, and that's why. Because he's a powerhouse.
Totally.
And it doesn't matter how big the other guy is.
Mm-hmm.
He's just a powerhouse. I saw a video a couple of weeks ago, and I shared it to the New Mexico Wrestling fan page.
Oh, yeah.
Of him just doing an Olympic lift, just a basic clean and jerk. And it looked like it was at least 300 pounds.
Uh-huh.
But he moved it like it was nothing.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, that's strength right there.
Oh, yeah.
And you see him in the ring, and you see that it carries over because he's got somebody, and he's just holding them while he's standing.
Exactly.
And then he just goes straight into a gut wrench.
Yeah.
Or he's got his neutralizer.
Right.
He just picks him up and then just drops him on the ground. It's like, are you
Dude.
kidding me right now?
The guys he's picked up for that move alone, you know, you're talking Brodus Clay, Khali.
Yeah.
Like, those are freaking huge dudes, man.
And the time he picked up Khali, he held him for a second before he came back down.
Exactly.
It's kind of like he wanted everybody to know that he's the real deal.
Yeah.
Because it's like, yeah, I can get him up. Guess what? I can hold him too. And now we can go down.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, dude. He's ridiculously good, man, and I think he's kind of he didn't really do a lot. Like when he came in, he like really quickly won the US belt.
Yeah.
I don't even remember him having any notable defenses with the US title. And then he lost it, and then he's kind of been in limbo with his whole Real American stuff, and now he's really starting to break out.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping, man, it seems like the Real Americans are about ready to break out.
Yeah.
This is going to be his big breakout.
Which I'm kind of hoping for, so.
Yeah, as much as I hate to see them kind of demolish the tag division right now. They spent so much time building it, now they're just breaking everybody up.
Yeah.
But, dude, Cesaro is going to be, he's money for sure for them, man. And just, I hope, I want to see him as a heel, you know. I think he would be a great heel, but it seems like they're going to go with a babyface run with him, which I'm still down for as long as Cesaro is getting TV time. He's proven that he can definitely go with the best. His matches against Cena and Orton.
That match against Cena, was that last week?
It was a couple weeks ago, yeah.
That was amazing.
Really good match, dude.
I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, and people who say Cena can't wrestle, like, just look at that match. I think Cena is as good as his opponent is.
Yeah.
But I think that match is one of the best matches I've ever seen Cena in. And Cena did some cool stuff in there too, man. It wasn't just Cesaro.
Oh, yeah, he pulled out that Hurricane Rana, and unlike other attempts, he actually pulled it off.
Exactly. He made it work.
Yeah.
But, yeah, man, Cesaro's definitely money in the future. We'll see what happens. Do you think we're going to – obviously we're headed for a breakup with the Real Americans.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
So you think we're going to see a huge WrestleMania match from Cesaro
I hadn't
this
thought
year?
About that.
There's rumors.
I think that would be fantastic.
Yeah.
Maybe I guess we're far enough out, we could probably see a Cesaro versus Swagger match.
Yeah, that's been a rumor. I've also heard them do a triple threat, possibly throwing Big E in there for the IC title.
Yeah.
That'd be cool. But Cesaro's popularity is really on the rise. So we'll see what happens with him in the coming months. Well, again, going back to you, of course, is why we're here. What exactly, obviously you've been a wrestling fan for quite a bit, since '99. What was it that eventually made you decide that you wanted to pursue this, become a professional wrestler?
It was the first DWO show that I went to.
Okay.
That made me want to get in and train.
Do you remember what show that was?
It was, I don't remember the name of it. It was at the Armory over on Wyoming, and it was an outdoor show.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if that helps. I think it does, because I don't think there are very many outdoor shows.
There's I think 2. Yeah. Maybe. I think there was only 1 outdoors. But so you went to the show, and you didn't know anybody at that point. You just saw the product.
Yeah.
And immediately you were like, I want to do this.
Yeah. So I after the show, I didn't really have anywhere to go, and I saw all the wrestlers coming out, and they were helping to tear down the ring and load it up on the truck, and I was like, well, okay. Yeah. I'm gonna help them out a little bit. They busted their asses for us. I can at least help them out a little bit and try to help them load the ring back up. And I ran into Josh while I was helping tear apart the ring. And so we got to talking, and he started telling me about how often he trains with Dex and how often he trains with Johnny K and with Mosh and a few other people. And so I asked him, I was like, well, hey, how do I get into it if I wanted to? So he gave me the details, and that very next Tuesday, the show was on a Saturday. That next Tuesday, I was in a ring.
Were you?
Yeah, I was in a ring, and I was learning how to run the ropes, and I was learning how to just take basic bumps, and that was it. Awesome. And then the following Thursday, I did my first forward bump, where you just kind of go forward over, like you're going for just like a hip toss or something. Okay. Those lines. And I landed that, and that was it for me. Really? I was like, all right, let's do this. Let's go.
Full on at that point, right? So it wasn't difficult for you at all, man. You pretty much got in contact. You saw the show that same day. You got in contact with Josh Payne.
Yeah.
And from there, you were on a smooth course to a career in pro wrestling. So you've had a lot of and you've actually trained. I think you're one of the few guys. I mean, you've kind of taken a little bit of every trainer. Obviously with Josh and Dex and Johnny, you learned, I'm sure, some from them. Yeah. I know you've also trained with Mosh Pit Mike. Mm-hmm. You've also trained with Rocky Penasco Jr. So you've kind of taken a little bit of everybody.
Yeah.
And kind of developed your own kind of style and everything. Do you think that was a has that helped you out as far as learning a little bit from everybody?
It has, mostly because when you train with somebody, you're not training with just them. You're training mm-hmm. with their experience too.
Yeah.
So you get to see and you get to work with everything that they've kind of worked through.
Mm-hmm.
So I've worked with the cartel, and so I learned a lot of stuff from the things that they've learned.
Right.
So I took in that. And then I worked with Mosh Pit Mike, and the same thing. I took in a lot of the stuff that he had already learned.
Right.
The same thing with Rocky Penasco. I worked with Sid for a little bit too.
Oh yeah.
And so there's all this information that's coming in.
Yeah.
At some points, it actually became a little overwhelming, just because you've got all this information coming from all these different directions.
Yeah.
Eventually, what's bound to happen too, which is something to be a little wary of, is you're going to start having some conflicting information. Mm-hmm. And it's not that this information is bad or that information is bad. They're just different.
Yeah. Everybody learned different stuff.
Yeah. And it's just little things like, oh, this move is done this way. And then somebody else will say, well, this move is done this way.
Yeah.
Neither are really necessarily wrong unless mm-hmm. one winds up hurting somebody or breaking somebody's neck.
Right.
Obviously, that's wrong.
Yeah.
But, for the most part, it kind of comes down to what works best for you.
Right. Exactly. It's kind of making it your own, taking in as much as you can, and kind of just going with whatever you feel most comfortable with, right?
Yeah. I mean, in the end, you may just wind up deciding not to do the move at all.
Yeah.
And that's okay, too.
Exactly.
Because not everybody does every move that they know.
Yeah, exactly. So would you recommend, as far as people going out there, would you recommend for somebody to stick with just one trainer, as far as just sticking with, like, the guys who go and train with Mosh Pit Mike, for example? Do you think that they should just... Obviously, again, Mosh is a great trainer from what I've heard.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Would you recommend them going and just seeing what other guys do as far as training with the other guys here in New Mexico? What would you recommend? I mean, you've kind of experienced training with everybody. Would you have preferred just training under one person or one style, I guess?
I would recommend finding just that one person.
Okay.
Finding that one person that you can connect with the most, that you understand, and just focusing on learning from them, just so that you'll have that single path of information.
Okay.
Just at least until you can get that basic information down and learn just how to work your way around a ring, mm-hmm. how to work through a match, and learn just your basic moves.
Okay.
After you feel pretty comfortable with that, then you can maybe start to branch out a little bit and see, what else is other people doing? What else are they learning? What else are they teaching?
Yeah. And
figure out a way to integrate that into what you already know.
Exactly.
But I think starting off, it's more important to find that quality environment, that quality trainer, mm-hmm. and stick with just that one or that one group.
Right.
Because because even with that group environment, they should have that unified theory for how they want to train.
Yeah. And I'm sure it doesn't hurt. I mean, of course, once you're a little bit more trained to go out and learn maybe some other stuff from other guys. But I think you're right, man, as far as just going through that one path with that one trainer and learning your basics and then kind of branching off after you've kind of been doing it for a while.
Yeah.
I mean, again, there's so much knowledge in wrestling, and you never really stop learning, mm-hmm. which is great.
And then, every time you wrestle a match, you're still learning something.
Exactly.
So you're learning from your opponent. So that ties into it too, because before you even have your first match, you're training at least half a year, mm-hmm. usually a year longer before you have your first match. And that's all just learning fundamentals.
Exactly.
That's learning how to exist in a ring.
Yeah.
And take care of yourself, take care of the other person, mm-hmm. and learn how to entertain a crowd. So that all has to be solidly implanted in your brain. It's got to become a habit.
Yeah.
If you have to think about it, you have already wasted too much time.
Wow. So how long did it take you from when you started training to when you had your first match?
I had my first match at about 8 months.
Oh, did you?
I did.
Okay.
And it was against the Phoenix. It was at Day of Destiny Phoenix. Yes. It was at Day of Destiny 4, I believe.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And I was terrified.
Were you?
Absolutely terrified, yeah. And that's, for me, that's never gone away. Mm-hmm. I've always been super terrified before a match. Mm-hmm. And in other areas of my life, that same behavior exists. When I used to mess around with cars a lot and do all the drifting,
oh yeah,
I was terrified before I set foot on the track.
Oh really?
But the one thing that had in common with both was the second I walked through the curtain, it was gone.
Nice.
And the second I set tire on track, it was gone. And then I just went out there and did my thing.
Nice.
So, yeah, I was terrified in that match with Phoenix with 30 X's. And but you know, in the end, it still went pretty well.
Yeah. And you did it for a little. Obviously, you were first known as Token Tony.
Yes.
You ran with that name for a little bit, and you did pull a rock for a little bit because you left for a little while, right? Yeah. And you came back. How long were you gone for?
I was gone for about a year.
Was it okay?
Yeah.
Because
I left. I was gone for about 6 months. Then I got back in, and then before I just jumped back in the ring, mm-hmm. Obviously I got back in the ring into practice sessions and just getting off all the ring rust.
Yeah.
And just making sure I still remembered what I needed to know.
Right. And obviously you did, right?
Yeah.
Was it difficult for you after taking that time off? Was it difficult for you to come back, or was it just like same thing like riding a bicycle?
It was a little bit like riding a bicycle.
Okay.
You're still going to have that kind of wobbly period at first, mm-hmm. where mentally you still know everything.
Yeah.
But it's just you have to remind your body that it knows everything.
Right.
So you have to remember how to move.
Oh yeah. So you came back, and then obviously you changed your name. You were Turbo Tony.
I was Turbo Tony. Yes.
Why did name change? Any reason?
The name change was because I wanted to integrate a little bit more of myself into my wrestling persona. Mm-hmm. So obviously with cars being a huge part of who I am,
yeah,
that was my way of just blending the two worlds together.
That's cool.
So
you wrestled for a little while then as Turbo Tony, and dude, man, I think that when you came as Turbo Tony during that time, I don't even remember how many matches you had while you were under. When do you remember when you came back?
I came back. What year are we in now? 2014?
Yeah.
So it would have been January of 2012.
Okay.
That would have been right around when I came back.
And dude, for me, as far as like watching you, it was like seeing a whole different guy.
Yeah.
Like you seemed a lot more comfortable in the ring, and again, I don't know if it was just because time had passed or you put, you learned a lot more since that time. But you was a lot more comfortable, dude. And I think for the most part, man, you had some really entertaining matches with a lot of guys.
All right, well, thank you.
Did you have, as far as your career in wrestling, do you think that you had, what was your biggest accomplishment as far as doing it?
I guess my biggest accomplishment was at one of the DWO shows, at one of the Relay for Lifes. Mm-hmm. I actually got voted for Match of the Night.
Oh, did you?
It was a match I had with Jared the Juggernaut.
Oh yeah,
and
who was another? He was fairly new.
Yeah, we started at about the same time.
Oh, okay.
And that night was also the first time I took just a big drop because he's twice my size.
Yeah.
At least at the time, and so he basically just picked me up, just straight over the head, and then just dropped me. And then he decided to do it again. Yeah. And so those are the first two times that I took that move. And it was a little scary because I'd never been that far above the ring unless I was standing on the top rope. And then all of a sudden his arms are gone, and then I'm just falling towards the floor. And but that was a really, really fun match.
Nice. I remember that. So you got match of the night for that, because after every show we'd always put up, what was your favorite match,
right,
on the website, and people voted that one. It was very entertaining from what I remember, dude. So that's awesome. And I know that you also wrestled, obviously a majority of your matches, you wrestled exclusively for DWO, mm-hmm. But you also wrestled a few times out in Arizona. You wrestled for 0-1.
Yes.
How was that experience as far as getting booked? Was it an accomplishment for you as far as getting booked by another company besides, obviously, the home promotion here?
Absolutely. Definitely. To be able to travel with a few guys and essentially just show up on somebody's doorstep.
Yeah.
you know, and it's like, hey, I'm here to just help out with whatever you guys needed. And you know, as it happened, they had to shift the card around a bit, so it left a hole, and I was there.
Yeah.
And so like, hey, here you go.
So you weren't even expecting to wrestle that show,
no.
Were you?
Mm-mm.
Oh, okay.
I wasn't expecting to wrestle the show. I had my gear because that was a lesson I learned a little bit before that, was just, if you're going to a show, just bring your gear.
Yeah.
Just be ready. And so they had the hole in the card. They asked me if I had my gear. I told them I did, and they said, all right, lace up. And then I went out there.
Nice.
And it was a lot of fun. It was a different experience. It was a different experience for a couple of reasons. First off, their ring was massive.
Was it?
The DWO ring is 14 feet across.
Yeah.
Theirs is 20.
Jeez.
So right off the bat, that just throws off your timing, your spacing, because now you have all this extra space.
Yeah.
And where the ring was wider, the ceiling was now lower.
Oh,
so,
okay.
It made jumping off the top rope a little bit of a challenge.
I bet. So you've wrestled a lot of people, man. As far as New Mexico, you've been in a ring with just about, I'd say, almost everybody. Did you have a favorite opponent at all?
My favorite opponent actually was one of your past guests. It was Sid Luciano.
Oh, was it?
Yeah. We had a match. It was my last match as Token Tony. It was against Sid Luciano. And that was just, it was painful. Because a lot of the match was spent outside on the floor. And there was one point where he had given me a suplex out there, and it was okay. I'll leave it at that. Okay.
We'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
But it was a lot of fun.
Nice.
I tried a couple of new things, and some of it didn't work. And I wound up just basically failing at it. But in the end, it was a good experience. I'm glad I had it.
That's awesome, man. Well, as people may not know, you've actually decided to put your career as a wrestler on hold for now, and you're actually now a personal trainer. How did this whole thing come about as far as you becoming a personal trainer?
So when I started wrestling, I was about 135 pounds. And being that size, for as tall as I am, right at about 6 feet, it led to me just not having a whole lot of cushion on my body when I fall. So I was getting hurt a lot.
Okay.
And so as a result, I decided to just start working out, just to put on some size, just to kind of help out.
Yeah.
And from there, I got from that weight up to about 150, 155, and I hung out there for a while. And I was working with another personal trainer. This was before I was a trainer. And I was trying to get even bigger, to about where I am now. I'm at 175.
Oh, wow.
So, you're looking at about a 35-pound jump. 35, 40, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
And so it's a pretty significant jump. And so the thing that I found most valuable about my time with that trainer was that he was able to help me just get to whatever goal I wanted to. So I had worked with a couple of wrestlers before I became certified as a trainer. And in helping them get to their goals, they were just beyond appreciative.
Yeah.
So it lit a certain passion inside of me to be able to help other people get to their goals.
Nice. That's awesome. So would you recommend, obviously, dude, being a wrestler, you have to be in great shape. Definitely. Would you recommend anybody who's listening to this, who's possibly pursuing a career in wrestling, would you recommend that they seek out the advice of a personal trainer, actually just get in shape before they eventually make the jump to train to become a wrestler?
Absolutely. You know, if it's beyond important to be in good shape.
Yeah.
And you know, if you can look at some people, and obviously they look like they're in shape, and then you look at some people and maybe they don't look like they're in shape, but they're in fantastic shape.
Right.
And you just look at some people that are they're just big, but they move like they're 100 pounds lighter than they are. You know, you look at guys like Big Boss Man. Yeah. Bill Buchanan, Rikishi.
There you go.
They're big guys, but they move like they're 200 pounds. You know? So, and that just comes from working in the ring. So you have to figure out a way to put the two together. More importantly, since you're going to be wrestling and working in the ring, that's the most important part. in order to get better at a sport, you have to do the sport.
Yeah.
On the other side of it, the crucial component is still being able to build that strong body and get everything in shape, get all your joints healthy, get your heart, your lungs working as best as they can so they can support you in wrestling.
Yeah.
And the biggest payoff in building that strong body is ideally to avoid injuries.
Of course.
So if you can, if you work on something, you have to figure out where your weaknesses are, and then you can come out, create activities, and go through certain exercises, like in this case, that will help compensate for those weaknesses and help cover them up and strengthen them so that they're not weaknesses anymore.
Yeah.
So you can basically come out, and if you look at somebody like Cesaro right now, he's just a powerhouse.
Yeah.
He's just raw power. And there's some videos out there on the internet that shows his training, and it's hardcore exercises, stuff like Olympic lifting. There's no way to cheat with Olympic lifting. You can't not do that and build a strong body, because those things use your entire body. So it builds your legs, it builds your back, your chest, your joints get stronger because the ligaments get stronger. So, and then of course, as you see anytime you watch him in the ring, there's that definite crossover, because he can just haul somebody around.
Oh yeah, exactly. So definitely, obviously, having a great training regimen you would recommend for anybody wanting to get into wrestling first. I think that's important, of course. Yeah. You don't want to go in and train, because training is difficult alone. Absolutely. As it is. So you want to make sure that you're prepared for it. And I think having a strict, not even really a strict training regimen, but at least being a little bit in shape is obviously super important before you start training.
Mm-hmm.
I know that, just people I've heard of who go to training, not naming any names or anything, but they go, I don't even know their names. So, but they show up and they think they can do it, and they just get blown up.
Yeah.
They're not used to all the physical requirements that wrestling has, that that you have to have while being a wrestler. And they think you just go in and do it like nothing, but it's strict. It's a hard thing to do, and people just show up without any training.
I think that's because there's some weird stigma about professional wrestling that because it's predetermined, it's easy.
Yeah.
And that's not the case at all.
No, that's
at all.
So far from the case. And I'm sure you saw a lot of those people too, right? That would just show up.
Yeah, they would just show up, and we just run a normal practice, and 10 minutes in, they'd be done. Yeah.
Hold on, I need some water.
Yeah, and it's not easy at all. You look at other sports, football, basketball, take your pick. They're not hard either.
Yeah.
The thing that sets wrestling apart is there's no off season.
Exactly.
Football just finished up. Basketball is about to finish up.
Right.
Baseball's starting.
Yeah.
Where does wrestling get their break?
They don't.
They get a week. If you're with WWE, you get the week between Christmas and New Year's, and that's it.
Yeah, exactly. That's your break.
Yeah.
A week if you're
That's your off season, 7 days.
Yeah.
January 2nd, you're back on a plane.
So you're in the best shape of your life pretty much right now. So the question I have for you is, will we ever see Turbo Tony in a wrestling ring again for active competition?
I'm going to say never.
Yeah.
It's very possible.
Yeah.
There was I think it was about 2 weeks ago, I got in touch with Josh Payne, and I wanted to work with him in the cartel just on some conditioning stuff. I've been focusing a lot on kettlebell exercises lately.
Oh, okay.
So I brought a few kettlebells over to one of their practice sessions, and I ran him through just through a quick workout that I made up specifically for them. It was focused more on wrestling type movements.
Okay.
And the sort of things that I feel would benefit them.
Mm-hmm.
And I was there, and the ring was in the background, and there was that little twinkle in the eye. I was like, all right.
Yeah.
And I would show them, and I would have them do their exercises, and they'd be working through a set of stuff, and I just kind of look over it again and just look back, and then look at the ring again, and then come back to them and just be like, all right. So maybe there's still a little something there.
Yeah. Who knows? Once CWO starts up and running again, you could see Turbo Tony again in a wrestling ring. I think it'd be great, man. You can pull a rock for us. If you do come back, all I ask is that you have epic Chris Jericho return promos.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say I'm not gonna have a Rock type return. No. It's got to be more. It's got to be more, a little more demonic. It's got to be a little more Chris Jericho style.
There you go. We want videos on YouTube. We want to be like, who is this guy? Yeah. And then big old epic debut. Return, I should say.
Yes.
Well, we got some fan questions, man, we got to get to. We're running out of time here. First fan question comes from Kyle. He wants to know the $1 million question. Do you hate Randy Orton more or less than he does?
I'm going to start off by saying that I don't really know that there's anybody that I think could hate Randy Orton more than Kyle.
I think it's impossible, man.
I knew that he disliked him.
Yeah.
But it wasn't until he was on the podcast about a month ago that I was like, wow.
He really hates this guy.
He really just, wow. He does not like Orton. I used to be a fan of Orton. But now it's just become, if you've seen one Orton match, you've seen them all.
Yeah, he kind of does this, and I think that's how it is with a lot of guys. I think that just recently with this whole thing with him just being super hated right now.
Yeah.
I think he's getting to a level where he's getting like X-Pac heat right now.
Yeah.
I think people just hate him. And a lot of it has to do because they want to see Daniel Bryan in the main event.
Yeah. Which in a way kind of sucks. It's not really Orton's fault.
It's not at all.
They're just,
Yeah. I say the same thing for Batista right now too, man. I think that Orton and Batista are decent wrestlers. I wouldn't put them as the best.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm entertained by them, but just this whole run right now, they're just getting mad heat, and it's just ridiculous. And it's not either their fault, man. It could have been anybody in that spot, dude. If it was Cena,
anybody except Bryan.
Yeah, anybody except
if Bryan was in that spot, everybody'd be happy.
Yeah, if it was anybody except for Bryan, probably Punk.
Yeah.
They would be happy, but because it's those two guys and they're not,
it's just Bryan, bad timing right now.
Yeah, totally bad timing.
Yeah.
We got another question coming from Manly. He wants to know if you have any advice for anybody who's wanting to train to become a professional wrestler. As far as what would that be? I think we kind of talked about it, but what else would you give them as far as advice?
We did talk about that. The hands down, the most important part is you have to find a good place to train, to learn.
Yeah.
Anything else besides that, you can find.
Mm-hmm.
Earlier I said the two main components was finding a good person to train with and somebody that's good to teach you, and then finding somebody that's essentially a good trainer so that they can put together a good workout regimen. But I mean, you can find a gym anywhere.
Yeah.
So you essentially just have to find the right place and the right people to train with.
Yeah. And if anybody wants to reach out to you, again, if somebody's listening to this who has not trained or is thinking about training to be a wrestler, or even guys who are training right now, if they want to contact you as far as getting help, maybe get better conditioning or anything like that, are you open to help these guys out?
I am, absolutely. I'm always posting in the Facebook page, the New Mexico Wrestling page, so they can find me there. There's a Turbo Tony Facebook page, so they can find me there.
Yeah.
You can find me just on Facebook, just directly at Tony Davis.
Okay.
And at any of those, you can just shoot me a question for anything, nutrition advice, fitness advice, any questions on exercises, and I'll just get right back to you and get you the answer.
Yeah. I think that's great, man. I think you can help out a lot of people because obviously we have a lot of people who are wanting to do this.
Yeah.
And I mean, this guy Tony's willing to help you guys out, so definitely take advantage of this. He can help you out for those guys who just want to even just basic exercises to help maybe increase your increase anything really. You're willing to provide that assistance to anybody who's just hit you up on Facebook, even Twitter, right? Okay. Well, really quick, of course, we can't have a podcast without talking about some WWE news, and obviously the biggest news is just the WWE Network launched here recently. Yeah. Your comments as far as being able to go back and look at some of the classic stuff that we grew up on, 99 stuff. How great is this?
Oh, it's wonderful. How could it not be a good thing?
Yeah,
it's fantastic.
Yeah.
It's instead of trying to go and hunt down DVDs or anything like that, trying to look on eBay for an old DVD that was out a few years ago and you just can't find it at a Best Buy or Walmart.
Yeah.
If you're looking for a pay-per-view now, it's like, oh, hey, that's what I want to watch. And then just go right into it.
Click. It's great, man. I've been watching a lot of WCW because I grew up in WCW.
Yeah.
And I kind of stopped watching around 98, 99 because WWE was so much better.
Yeah.
And so I'm going back and I'm watching the WCW pay-per-views I missed out on. I'm talking, like 2000, 2001, right before they closed. Yeah. And they were just so bad. Like, it's like a train wreck. I'm like, why am I still watching this? Like, the matches, the storylines just are so ridiculous, man. And the matches just weren't that great, man. They lost a lot of talent, obviously, when, like, you lost Big Show, Jericho.
Yeah.
You lost, all the Radicals, those four guys. And it just wasn't good at all, man. So it's kind of interesting just to see what they did because they had some ridiculous matches. They had like a Judy Bagwell on a forklift match, which was
what?
When Vince Russo was in charge, like they had every pay-per-view had some sort of like on a pole match.
Yeah.
Like it was a straight jacket on a pole match or something just ridiculous. And it's no wonder that they went out of business when they did because the product was just so far behind, what WWE was doing. But it's great, man. The network is awesome. If you guys have it, I'm sure you guys are watching it. And if you don't have it, I would recommend it. It's just such a great service. And for $10 a month, I think it was like $10.69 after tax. Really good price for anybody just to have it, man.
Yeah, I mean, if for nothing else, just because it comes with a pay-per-view too.
Exactly.
That goes what, $50?
Yeah, dude.
So right off the bat, you're saving $40.
Dude, that's
getting so much more than just one pay-per-view.
That's a steal in itself. So definitely check it out, guys. If you know somebody, I'm sure you probably know somebody who has it. Go to their house, watch it. You'll be hooked, and you won't regret it. So it's another great episode of Ring Awareness, man. I've got to thank you for coming down. Again, you guys know how to contact Tony Davis, Turbo Tony, Facebook and Twitter. He will help you guys out. Tony, thank you so much for coming down.
You got it. Thanks for having me.
Of course, man. Hopefully we'll have you on again here, and we'll talk more about wrestling.
Yes.
And personal training, of course.
Definitely.
If you guys have missed any previous episodes of Ring Awareness, again, hit up YouTube. Go check them out. Also like Ring Awareness on both Facebook and Twitter. Until then, this is Adam Merrick signing off.